USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Weekend Review podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com. A look at this weekend in college hockey and a review of the top news of the week.
Welcome to the USCHO Weekend Review podcast. I'm Ed Trefzger with Jim Connelly. And Jim, a great weekend of hockey for some teams that seem to be on a roll, and comebacks seem to be the statement for a couple of them. First of all, St. Cloud State, 2 comeback wins against Denver.
Yeah, and this is a team that's playing very well, but back-to-back nights found themselves down 2 goals to Denver. The ability to come back, and the good thing about both of the comebacks that I think that they like is they didn't have to wait till the last minute on either of them. They ended up evening the score by the end of the second period, or taking the lead at that point. So I think coaches, they like to see their teams make these small comebacks, 2-goal comebacks, not the biggest, but it's still nice. But it's also nice not to have to wait till the closing minutes of regulation to score the tying and winning goals. But they really are fighting through and getting wins however they can. They seem to be playing really good hockey right now. That's 4 in a row for them. So I like the way that St. Cloud State is playing. They'll obviously likely hold at number 2 in the poll this week, but they're a very deserving team right now.
I'd expect them to get a few first place votes in there too.
Yeah,
as folks try to divvy things up. Yeah, that's the thing with the poll voters too. I think it's sort of like when the writers vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Nobody wants to give anybody something unanimously, so we'll always see a few others, unless it's at the end of the season and you have a national championship. Well, the game that was our game of the week, a 2-game series, UMass at home on Thursday and at Providence on Saturday. I think that series is one of those that proves that adage that good teams find a way to win.
Yeah, and these are 2 excellent teams, and it's almost like UMass certainly, in earning a sweep of that series, found a way to win both nights. Providence did the same thing both nights as well. They kind of found a way to lose by putting themselves in a big hole. Both nights, UMass jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first period, really early in both of those games. Providence on Thursday was able to chip away at that one, a goal in the second, then a late power play goal in the third to tie it. And they had all the momentum seemingly going their way. On Saturday, the back end of the series, again, 2-0 early for UMass, and then Providence, this time they didn't have to wait till the third period or late. They got 2 quick goals in the middle stanza, and they really were dominating. I mean, they outshot UMass in that game 31-13, I believe. And it was pretty lopsided on Thursday as well, but both nights, not random, but seemingly harmless shots from the right point end up going through traffic. And on Saturday night, it went clean in. On Thursday night, the puck went clean in. On Saturday night, it hit a man in front in the chest. He didn't really even know it. And you end up with 2 goals really late in regulation, and UMass ends up pulling out both of those wins. And I'll tell you, this is a team, you can watch this team, despite the fact that they were outplayed for large sections of both games, really for the second and third period of both games, they were outplayed. This is a team that's playing with confidence. They love the way their goaltender Matt Murray is playing, and they have a lot of confidence in him. But they just seem to be playing with a little bit of swagger, so they don't have to dominate teams on the shot chart, and they are still finding ways to win games.
Greg Carvel, now I believe this is his 4th year behind the bench. He's really turned things around at UMass. What is the key? I mean, you mentioned goaltending. What is the key to what seems to people to be a very fast turnaround?
Well, it doesn't hurt that there was a very good recruiting class set up for last year that included Cale Makar and Mario Ferraro. And I think he's kind of leaned on some of those players. He did not allow his freshmen last year really to ever be freshmen. They kind of had to come in from moment one and be part of that team's offense and defense and really everything. And you could literally at one point look out on the ice and see 6 sophomores from your goaltender right on out. And all of those players are talented. So that recruiting part helped. And some of that was done by his predecessor. But he was able to maintain commitments and keep these players going. But he also has, developed kind of that systems mentality. He talks about getting outshot, and often they do, but he believes that they only shoot from the highest quality areas, and then they are a pretty hungry team around the net. They're very good at grinding those rebounds and making teams work harder to box out in front of the net. So his system, he had told me his first year that he really, really was focused on getting the right people in the door first. And then once he had the talent that he knew could do what he wanted them to do, then he could implement his system. And it's a system that works. And he did very well with it at St. Lawrence. It's very much an NHL-like system. They play like a pro team, and they're going to keep winning. This is not a flash in the pan. This is a very good UMass team here.
And let me correct myself, third year behind the bench at UMass for Greg Carvel after coming from St. Lawrence. Well, another team on the move, and I think we'll see them in the USCHO.com men's Division I poll for the first time ever, and that is Arizona State, a sweep of Michigan State this weekend.
Yeah, and that's, we talk about the turnaround at UMass and being pretty remarkable, but this is a really remarkable story. This, program is in its infancy. This is a team that was a club hockey program 5 years ago, and here we are 4 seasons into their Division I NCAA life, and they're dominating. They're playing very well. As an independent, I think that sometimes is very hard to recruit to, but obviously their head coach, Greg Powers, who we've talked about on the show before, that he's a holdover from the club program. So this is a team that really believed in their coach. It's not like Penn State where you move from club to varsity and you get rid of your coach and you go out and hire a big name like Guy Gadowski. This is Greg Powers was a relatively unknown guy, but he's young, he's energetic, he's smart. He finds really good talent all over the U.S. and abroad. And I think that's, really proving to be a formula that works. And he's not depending on all older guys. He has, I think he has all but one freshman this year is a 99 birthday, and the other one's a 2000 birthday. So these are 18 and 19-year-old freshmen that he's bringing in. He's just doing it right. He's finding ways to get the right players in there that want to win, that want to play. And I get it that Arizona is maybe an easy climate to recruit to, but they don't really have a building right now. We've talked about that before. So I'm just really impressed with what's going on out there. I'm happy for them. I'll get to talk to them this week. They're heading out to Boston. I'll see their coach on Thursday, hopefully. And I'm really interested to hear what he has to say about just his thoughts on how this has gone. Maybe it's been a little bit even more than he could have expected, but having met him before and talked to him before, I think this is kind of almost in line with what he hoped for.
9-3, the Sun Devils so far this season. The most wins they've had in the season was 2 years ago with 10. So they will no doubt eclipse that and certainly make some noise in the poll. Speaking of poll, I didn't mention it with UMass and Providence. I expect maybe even a top 5 finish in the poll this week for UMass. They are really getting attention, and there are not very many teams out there with only one loss.
Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody asked Greg Carvel after the game the other night, you're whatever their record is, that they're 8-1 now. Have you put together the resume that should garner first place votes in a poll? And he was very straight. He said, no, not the way we're playing right now. We're still not that good of a team. So when you're still not that good of a team and you're 8-1, yes, you're finding ways to win games, but that has a lot of upside.
Well, it's really good news for that program. And again, as we've talked on this podcast and other podcasts, the success of Arizona State should be an enticement for other Southwestern and West Coast schools to make an even more serious look at Division I hockey.
I would hope so. I think that if you can see that, not that it's not hard, not that it's not difficult, but that it's doable, then you should believe if you're a Pac-12 school right now, or we've talked about UNLV before. If you're a school like that, you should be able to look at this and say, boy, we need to make a priority of finding money, because it can be done and it can be something that's very good for the profile of a university.
This is the USCHO Week in Review podcast from US College Hockey Online.
Well, it was a wild weekend for Penn State. They had a home-and-home series with Robert Morris, 18 goals in 2 games. In the Saturday game, it was 3-3 still with a couple minutes left in the first period.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure how Guy Gadowski feels about his defense right now, but I know that he's very happy with his offense. 18 games in 2 nights, an 11-6 win on Saturday. I mean, that was a season high for both teams in goals. Actually, it was a program high for Penn State. They had never scored 11 since moving to Division I. But for Robert Morris, they hadn't scored 6 goals all season. They put 6 goals in the net and they lose by 5. That's talk about something that can be just a little demoralizing. But this Penn State offense, they're clicking, and it's not just one player. It's not just one line. You looked at, I think it was 9 different goal scorers of those 11 goals on Saturday night. So they're getting contributions up and down the lineup, and we've always known that they are a kind of a high potent offense. And I think that, it was an NCAA tournament game 2 years ago. They put up 10 goals on, I believe, Union. So we know that they can score. We also know that when you're getting down to the nitty gritty of an NCAA tournament, often defense matters. And I think that that's something that's going to have to sharpen up, because you can't consistently believe your offense is going to put up 8, 9, 10 goals a night. It just won't happen.
Well, North Dakota saw its winning streak end on Saturday in a loss at Miami, but some good starts to the season for both the Fighting Hawks and the Red Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, North Dakota was pretty hot, and they found a way to win on Friday night. But a good bounce back for Miami. That we've talked about the difficulty of the sweep on these weekends, and that's kind of one that highlighted it. North Dakota is riding high. That they're playing the best hockey, and then you just expect them, after pulling out a win on Friday. Okay, well, Saturday they'll sweep that series and move on. Well, Miami had some different thoughts and played a very good, very strong game against North Dakota on Saturday night, come away with a 3-2 win. And that's the way NCHC, or that's the way college hockey probably should be. You should see more of these splits, because teams really should get hungry and want to bounce back.
One team that doesn't need to bounce back, they're now up to 8 in a row. Number 1, I would expect again this week in the USCHO.com poll, Minnesota Duluth.
Do you remember when we were panicking for Minnesota Duluth at one point this season? Oh boy, they didn't get, all they got was a tie out of that first weekend with Minnesota. Maybe they're not going to be that strong. And here they are 8 games later, and they're 8-1-1 and an 8-game winning streak, playing some really good hockey. And we're starting to see that first weekend almost was an aberration. I don't know if you want to call it a national championship hangover, or just guys getting used to playing in different roles and different line mates and whatnot. But this team's rolling right now. They're finding ways to win games by scoring a lot, by scoring a little. They're a good team, and their defense is playing phenomenal. I mean, I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I know that they have given up among the fewest goals in the nation defensively. Trying to pull that one up. Scoring defense, 1.9 goals a game. Right now, that's not bad. It's 10 games, 19 goals against. It's actually not even the top in the country. It's only 7th in the country. That shows how strong some of these defenses have been. But still, on the back end, they're not giving up much.
One of the things that we'll keep an eye on as the season goes along, and we're getting toward the end of most of the out-of-conference games until the holiday break, but there are only 2 conferences above 500 right now in out-of-conference play. And if you leave out Arizona State, which all by itself is its entire conference, entire record is out of conference. But Big Ten at 598, the NCHC at a big 657. They are going to benefit from this when it comes to NCAA time. But it's time maybe to be concerned for both Hockey East and even ECAC below 500. I know ECAC had a couple of out-of-conference losses. Canisius, a 6-3 win over Clarkson, a 4-1 win at St. Lawrence for Mercyhurst, which helps the very meager Atlantic Hockey out-of-conference record. But should Hockey East and ECAC be getting concerned about their teams, their league's performance out-of-conference?
I think so. I was actually talking to somebody this weekend, and I said, if you're going to be a below 500 team out of conference in your interconference records, you should have some certain expectations when you get to the tournament that either you're going to have very few teams in, or if you get multiple teams in, they're all going to be very low seeds, 3 and 4 seeds. We saw that happen to Hockey East last year. And here we look at it, and I don't love to look at the pairwise right now, but to try to make a point, ECAC is struggling right now. They would get a couple of teams in, and Cornell would be right on the bubble, but the highest any ECAC team is right now is 12 in the pairwise, and that's Union. Quinnipiac at 13, Cornell at 16. So you're all in the bottom half of the draw. Hockey East right now, they would get just one team into the tournament, and that is UMass. Now UMass, as that one team, has a pretty good seed. They'd be number 2 overall if the season ended today. Again, I don't love looking at this, but I just, to illustrate the point, after UMass, the next team is Northeastern at 17. And then after that, you have to go all the way down to 20 to find Providence. We know Providence is a pretty good team, but after getting swept this weekend, you can drop pretty quickly this time of year. And once you get to January 1, you need to have yourself in a position to make a move in the pairwise. If you're in the bottom 30 of the pairwise and January 1, don't expect to make the NCAA tournament if you don't win your conference. So this is a point that some teams should be starting to panic, because you're looking at Boston University and Boston College, 2 teams that had high expectations coming into the season. BU right now is 32 in the pairwise. Boston College is 40 in the pairwise. So there's plenty of time to make this up, obviously, but you want to start that making up process before you get to Christmas, because after that, it's mostly conference play, and you'll have opportunities to play some good teams. But if your conference as a whole is down, winning games against the bottom of your conference won't move you higher in the pairwise. So it is a time to press the panic button. There's not a lot of games left to play in these non-conference slates. So, if you're not playing your best hockey very soon, then you better be hoping to win that conference tournament.
Or really put up a huge lopsided conference record. Those are the only ways to do it. And you could very well see, if this trend continues, could very well see 5 Big Ten teams and 5 and on the outside 6 NCHC teams in the NCAA tournament. I think things will settle down as you have a convergence toward the middle, as the in-conference schedule starts to heat up. But right now, the pattern would be very heavily in favor of NCHC and Big Ten for the postseason, and maybe pretty slim for ECAC and Hockey East, as well as WCHA and Atlantic Hockey.
And that one independent team that we've mentioned here already, Arizona State. That's another conference bid that doesn't get a bid, because that's an independent team. Arizona State right now would make the tournament. So again, we don't love talking too much pairwise before the new year, but when you talk about is there a need for a panic button, I think this is a good way to illustrate it.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that out-of-conference schedule as things go on. But until next time, this has been the USCHO Weekend Review Podcast. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Weekend Review Podcast, a production of US College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.